see. Resentment. Hello, I'm Hugo. I'm an alcoholic. Geez, I can prepare so much, but every time I share, it's just like out the window. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. What did it used to be like? Dude, I was always scared. As a kid, I was always scared. And there's a lot of events that happened that, terrified me, that I remembered and that I carried with me for the rest of my life. For example, I grew up in California, in Linwood, and in Linwood, there was a hurricane. And there was a day that my grandma wasn't there. She was watching me, and she went across the street, and she couldn't make it back home, and my mom wasn't there. So I woke up, there was nobody there. And I looked outside, and there were rivers, outside rivers of water on the streets. And I was home alone. I was like 5 years old. That's like the beginning of I was alone. There was nobody there. And a lot of events like that happened where I felt like I needed someone and there was nobody there. I grew up scared of God. I grew up Catholic, which I'm very grateful because my grandma had these get-togethers with the kids in the neighborhood, and we would all study, and I very fond memories. And then I remember the first time I heard God hates gay people. God sends those people to hell. And I was terrified. And I kept that a secret. And I didn't tell anybody. I kept that to myself. Terrified. Terrified of God. Terrified of being alone. And I always felt like there was something wrong with me. I didn't fit in. All my older cousins liked Tupac, Biggie. I was like Green Day, Korn, Tony Hawk. And even as a kid, my entire life I was told what to like, what not to like, who to play with. Don't play with girls, only play with boys. Why are you playing with Pokemon cards? Go play basketball. You can't like that. You can't do that. I was like, ugh. It hurt to be a kid. Even as a kid, it hurt. Afraid to be myself. Dude, terrified. I also grew up undocumented. My family moved here from Mexico when I was a little kid. So we were poor. We grew up in a very small home. And we shared, my brother and I shared the only bedroom we had. My parents really did their best to give us, they were always at work. The reason why that's a part of my story is because growing up poor, that was another part of me that felt unloved. Why do other people have money and I don't? That just added to the unlovable part. Felt really abandoned by God in many shapes and forms. So I did, from a very young age, I've always wanted to escape. Get me out of here. Get me out of this body. Like I was born in the wrong body, in the wrong place, in the wrong family, just wrong. That's what it was like. And I carry that with me. My parents split up. My dad came to Utah. And then we followed a couple of years later. I started high school here. And I went to Timpview. If I didn't feel left out then, I felt really left out of place, even more, you know. And I was always friendly. I said hi to people. People talked to me. But the way I viewed people, it was the first time I've heard of like LDS religions, Mormons. Like I had no idea what that was. Someone asked me if I was a Mormon, and I said, "What did you call me?" I thought it was an insult, you know. But the way these people moved was like God loved them a little bit more than me. Like, ooh, you know. From a very young age, I remember trying to escape. I just not feel something else than how I felt. I remember the first time I felt accepted. My older cousins asked me to steal a bottle of wine, and I hid it under my shirt. And they thought it was the funniest thing, and they were welcoming. And I thought it was cool. The following weekend, because we had barbecues every weekend, unsupervised, and I stole a couple of bottles of Smirnoff. I said, "Here, try these. They taste like Sprite." I have arrived. It felt good, you know. I chased that for the longest time. And my cousins accepted me. It was the first time I didn't have to act or pretend I liked something else. It felt good to feel accepted. Also in high school, I had my first love. Yeah, it was awesome. But on New Year's Day, he asked me to smoke weed, and I said yes because I wanted to connect, and we connected. But again, I felt like somebody was there. That just opened up the door, to, doing what I didn't want to do, just to. It wasn't me, but I wanted to feel accepted. I wanted to feel like I wanted to connect with somebody. People found out. And yeah, it ended. He didn't like that, and he left, and I was ghosted, abandoned. I felt abandoned, and so the reason why I bring that up is because then I carry that with me. What is the point of getting close to people if they just leave? How can you love someone, have someone say, "I love you," and then just disappear? What's the point of getting close to someone? I was really hurt. And after that, my relationships, my friendships, it's like, yeah, let's party. But I'm careful. At 17 at that time, and forgive me, some of my memories are super blurry. I tried something at a party on prom day, and I don't remember what it was. I just remember I snorted it. I love AA conversations. But I just remember I reached a high and I chased that for decades. It was like, ooh, I don't know what I felt, but I wanted there. And I chased it and I chased and I chased. Endless chase. I was never going to feel that ever again. At that age, because I'm undocumented and I'm hurt, I can't go to school. I can't get a job. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a social security card. What is the point? After I worked my steps, I realized at 17 years old, I gave up on myself. I gave up on everything. I gave up on my hopes, my dreams. What is the point? I can't do any of that. So what did I do? What did I do? I partied. And I partied hard. And there was a lot of stuff that happened that, but I feel like I've always known I was an alcoholic. Is that weird? I don't know. And when I was a kid, do you guys remember VH1 Behind the Scenes? There was an episode on the Backstreet Boys. And one of the band members, Howie, I think, they followed the camera around and the band members, and they showed how everybody around him and himself were all affected by his addiction. And I heard this very loud voice in my head, like at 10 years old, that said, "This is going to happen to you." It's like I knew, The reason I think I brought that up because God's always been there. God has always been there for me. I just, In 2010, like for example, I got arrested for disorderly conduct, public intoxication. Was walking home from the bar, knocked at the wrong condo, and they called the cops. I have a lot of crazy stories like that, which I really want to fast forward a little bit to focus on the solution. In 2010, I met my partner, who was this guy who was going to be my partner for 7 years. We were both very hurt people, alcoholics, and I regretted judging my parents for the kind of marriage they had, because I got into the exact same relationship, the exact one. And I used to judge them for that. Why doesn't she leave? Why doesn't he do that? Dude. So, I was undocumented. In 2015, my parents found an attorney. They found an attorney who's like, "Hey, this guy can help you. It'll be a lot faster if you get married." So I did. And guys, the moment I signed that document, the moment I signed the agreement with this attorney to help with my immigration process, that is when my alcoholism went into full drive. I don't know what happened. There was a switch. Don't get me wrong, it was fun. It was a lot of fun out there. Yeah, it's trashed places and hurt a lot of people in my life, but something happened. I can't explain. It was like a switch, like you've lost it. You've lost the privilege to drink. I needed it. I planned everything around it. My money, it was like numbing. I didn't, okay. He kicked me out a few times, a handful of times. I would go back to my parents' house. And this is where my spiritual experience kind of started. like I said, something changed. For example, I went on a 3-day bender, just tequila. And I woke up one day and I walked to the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't blink. And I walked upstairs and it was like I was no longer in control of my body. It was like watching it from a third person. Strangest experience of my life. I did it again a few days later, seeing stuff in my room, shadows, just weird stuff. One night I called the suicide hotline, and this man picked up, and he talked to me all night. He talked to me all night, and he called me the next day, and he had all these drunks call me the next day. It was AA. And he's like, yeah, this worked for me. You should, try it out. So I Googled it. I went to my first meeting at the Presbyterian Church in Springville. Black hoodie, in the corner, didn't talk to anyone. You guys spoke in a language I didn't understand. And I didn't understand it for years. Like, it did not make sense. It did not stay. It's like I wasn't ready. It got worse, never better. I would get like 10 days, go to a meeting, go to the liquor store. I would lie about how many days I had. And then I remember at one meeting, my first meeting at the Palace, I met my sponsor, who was going to be my sponsor, a year before I asked him to sponsor me. But I wasn't ready. I believe I asked the sponsee to sponsor me for the wrong reason. I wasn't ready. It got worse, never better. I remember getting 100 days. And my ex said, "Whoa, oh, you're doing great. Move back home. Move back in." Okay, I'll move back in. And he was going through a withdrawal, some stuff. And I remember he was just not having a good night and holding on to him and praying. And I remember and I was sober, okay? And the room was dark. And I remember seeing an outline of like a demon. Okay, this is stuff that's happened. This is my spiritual experience. That was very real for me. I went back out. Darkness and loud. Like this. What happened? Why is this so loud? Sober up. Birthday parties. Let's go out to eat. Baseball games. Life. Go back out. Prison of my own making. Not going anywhere. Drinking and driving. Like, it was really bad. And I tried. It was this like limbo. And during that time, my paperwork for immigration is still in process. I couldn't stay sober because I didn't want to think about all the stuff I had done. I didn't want to think about the people I had hurt. I was scared about what was going to happen with immigration. I wasn't working the steps. I didn't have a program. I couldn't, and it still hurt to stay sober. That happened for a couple of years. One last time he said, "If you drink again, that's it. It's over, and I'm moving to Texas." I said, "Okay, I won't drink. I promise." I did. Do you not love me? Of course I do. I just can't. Why can't you stop drinking? I don't know. That's the insanity. I am powerless over alcohol. My life becomes unmanageable. I can have the people I love the most right in front of me tell me stop drinking, and I can't. You know, I didn't understand it. Wow, why does this happen? What happened? It wasn't like this. So I left. Okay, here we go again. We got a little bit of AA. I know you're scared of the fourth step, and just a little bit. Let's try it again. And I did. I kept trying. I kept coming back. They kept saying that. Keep coming back. And I did. But a part of me did not believe in AA. I didn't believe it worked for other people. But I ran into a friend, and we used to party together in 08, 09. And very similar. We were best friends for a reason. And she was a few months sober. But I saw, and shared what happened to her. And I said, if it works for her, it might work for me. I tried for a while. Like I said, it took me a little bit. I got about 100 days. And the very last day I went to that house to go pick up the last of my stuff, the approval from immigration was in the mail. I didn't realize at the time that God was doing for me what I could not do for myself. Those 2 years was me breaking up with alcohol. It was my best friend. It made me fearless. It made me comfortable. It was my best friend, and then it turned its back on me and stabbed me in the back. So I had to go through that breakup with alcohol. And in that relationship, I had to let go of everything, and I didn't, and I held on, and it hurt. I went back, and what did I do? I celebrated. It's the button. The last day that I drank, I didn't have a bad day. It was the last day that I drank was because I was happy. It's not because something happened. So it shouldn't be bad, right? I'm not drinking because I'm sad. I'm drinking because I'm happy. But I remember buying that bottle, holding it in my hand, and I slowed down. And I remember thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to drink. I know it's going to happen. This is going to get bad. And I did it anyway. That's crazy. I woke up at my parents' house a couple of days later. I don't know how much time happened. This is July 16 of 2019. I woke up. I walked downstairs, and dude, it's crazy how my brain works. I didn't go to the kitchen. I went to the garage, my dad's tool shed, and I remember seeing a bottle of alcohol there. I don't know when, I don't know how much time had passed, but my brain remembered. So I woke up that morning, not knowing how I woke up there, and I remember thinking, I need a drink. I found the bottle. Where are my keys? I need more. I don't even know how I got there. It was the middle of July. I walked to the house that I was living at with some friends. And my car was there. My keys, my phone, everything's nowhere to be found. They didn't answer. I came back home. I finished the bottle. I fell asleep. I woke up the next day, and I sort of sat up, and I looked outside the window, and I took a deep breath, and I said, okay, let's do this. And that's when my recovery began. It wasn't this big, like, I got a DUI. No, because I got plenty of horror stories of being in jail, that pain in your heart, that loneliness, that, when you feel like, I can't forget that spiritual bankrupt that I felt, that I can't forget it. And I felt it over and over. So my last drink wasn't this big thing. It was me accepting that I was willing to do the work. And that was another switch. For 30 days I didn't drink. I white-knuckled it. I was embarrassed to come to the rooms. I was embarrassed to introduce myself as a newcomer. I prayed for a sponsor, and I kept running into Robert. And, in case I wasn't clear, my sobriety birthday is July 17 of 2019. Dude, and that first year, the first 12 months, I named it acceptance. I accepted that I had to do the work. I accepted I had to get a sponsor. I accepted this was one day at a time for the rest of my life. Just one day at a time. I accepted that I had done some stuff, but I was going to do something about it. I had to slow. This was, and it's still a work in process. Accept myself. This is who I am. There's nothing wrong with me. There was levels of acceptance all around. It took me, if I remember correctly, about 9 months to get through my 4th step. And every single time I called my sponsor, I would complain about something, work, my parents, whatever. And his response was, how's your 4th step? His job was to walk me through the steps. That's what he was trying to do. Forever grateful. After that first year, I named that year character defects, because I started dating. It was like a magnifying glass, like zoomed in. But before I move on to character defects, something I want to share. My brain has always been loud. And I heard in the rooms, when I did my 4th step, it was very miraculous, and that makes me very happy for them. It wasn't my experience. I was tired, drained. When I did my first amends to my cousin, dude, drinking and social media, oh my God. I hurt my cousin by writing some pretty ugly stuff online about her fiance, and I tagged every family member I could. She was like one of my best friends growing up. When I made that amends, it was the very first one. It was a Sunday. I went home, and it was quiet. It was quiet up here, and I slept like a baby. And that's when I started, crazy, but that's when I started believing in AA. I was like, dude, I don't know what is happening. I don't know what is this, but let's go. Let's keep going. Okay? But yeah, year two and character defects. Um, I didn't know they were going to be like shown to me like all the time. You know, and 2020 was weird. Um, like we didn't go to a lot of meetings. I had a couple of friends. I had a few friends. Um, Socializing was strange, and recovery in this body, sober, and no one told me how much you felt in sobriety, in a good way, in the best way. You know, that's why I drank. I didn't like to feel so much. I've always felt intensely. I don't want to feel this. Ugh, then I'm like, awesome, you know. So I've learned to, feel. Um, I got pretty miserable in sobriety. About 2.5 years, Queen. 2.5 years in sobriety. I was working a lot. I was making good money. I was like, okay, well, I would go to a meeting here and there. I stopped calling my sponsor as much. And a friend called me one night and said, hey, what are you grateful for? And I couldn't think of a thing to be grateful for. The very next day, I prayed to God, and I said, that fire, that peace and serenity that I had at the beginning, it's gone. I don't feel it anymore. I am willing to do whatever it takes to get it back. I got a concussion at work 2 days later. Yes, sir. We unload these trucks at work, and I've never seen a pole on the side of these trucks, but this one truck had it. And I was running, and I wasn't looking. I was running back inside, and I was looking backward, and pah. God said, you need to slow down. I started journaling. No big deal. Just journaling. I have new fears. I'm scared to lose my job. I'm scared of making my rent. I have new resentments. I thought I was done. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I had no idea. He suggested the meetings at the treatment center. That's where I learned there are other more important things than money. It's no longer about me. I can sponsor other men. It's time to think about others. And it came back. So yeah, I'm grateful for that experience. The year going into that, there was parts of me that still believed that God didn't love me. This is 3 years into sobriety now. There are still parts of me hidden deep inside that try to tell me, you don't deserve to be happy. God loves them more than he loves you. I don't know why it's like rooted deep inside. I have this experience that happened on a plane. I was in California and I was praying, God, I talking to my sponsor, and even though I had made amends, I couldn't forgive myself. I needed God's help. And I had this experience on a plane soon after where I'm in California. The night before, I get inspired. Hey, I saved money. upgrade to Comfort Plus for $20. Sure. I like Comfort. Um, and I'm walking to the airport, and I'm inside the terminal, and I see a guy there, zoom, like a magnet. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why, because he's wearing BYU apparel. Sorry if you're a BYU fan. Just don't. It's those like God loves you more. And I immediately thought, why am I drawn to this guy? I sit down. He's the very last guy on the plane. And he sits right next to me. And he started with small talk. Hey, how's it going? I hate small talk. I'm not a big fan of it. And he's like, are you excited? Is this home? And I said, no, I was just visiting my grandma. He's like, are you going back home? He's like, well, I'm actually going to Provo, Utah. I'm going to BYU, and I'm going to school. And he asked me some questions about the trains and terminal. He's like, I have no idea how I'm going to get there. I was like, dude, I got you. I'm heading that way. No big deal. And I was like, have you ever been there before? He's like, no, I actually just got back from serving a mission. I was like, cool. And I was like, this is so strange. I'm happy I can be of service and take you there. He's like, yeah, they just upgraded my seat for no reason. And we talked about God for a while and listened to music. His God was different. My God, but it was cool. That was the first time I felt as an equal, as God loves me too. We just both come from different paths, but we're equally loved. He loves nobody more, nobody less. I just block myself. And that's the day I have a lot of experiences where I ask God to present himself to me. It's 3 years into sobriety, super mysterious. What is it? Where is it? What are you? It's in the rooms. I feel it in the rooms, but I feel it in the moon. I feel it in the air. What are you? Of my understanding. Same thing at work. My boss, soon after, like about a month later, my boss gave me an unrealistic goal. It's like 10 p.m., an hour, like right before my shift ends. I need you to get off the floor and have the entire back rooms clean an hour before my shift ends. There's no way I'm getting it done. I got my badge. I'm like ready to quit. I go outside. I pray to the moon. And I said, God, I'm quitting. I don't know what is happening, but I give up. I said a prayer, said amen, and it was like a blueprint in my brain. You're going to scan all of this, take it outside, and put the rest of it on top. It was like, bah! The reason why I share those stories is because I named that year, God is everything or He is nothing. But I was putting a lot of stuff right before God. Who is God? You know? Old way of thinking, like seeing the steps after a little bit of time of sobriety was just different. Getting to talk about step 1, step 2 with a little bit of time. You know, that whole year, I after that, I named, I don't know shit. I really don't know shit. when I try to take my will back dude, and all the steps with a little bit of time and my expectations, I have 3 years of sobriety. My life should look this way. Dude, I get miserable real quick, but I am of service. I should have a good day today. Get to flat on the freeway. And expect nothing. Old way of thinking. I love my higher power today. But it taught me to keep an open mind that whole year. To keep coming back. Because I want to be happy in sobriety. I didn't sober up to be miserable. I was miserable for years. And if I'm disturbed, if I don't like someone, it's because it's me. I am the problem. I am the problem. And self-righteousness, judging other people. I got sober. Will make me miserable. Accepting people for who they are, has cousin. I've experienced different kind of surrenders in sobriety. That some people in my life are just exactly who they are, But yeah. This very last year in my sobriety, I named it human. I named it human because I realized I've never known how to be a friend. Humans. I don't have to be perfect. My God is very understanding. It's okay if I'm tired, It's interesting. I came into the rooms terrified of people, but I need them at the same time. I'm not so scared anymore. I'm not afraid like I used to be. I'm not afraid to live like I did when I was a kid. It doesn't hurt. I get nervous up here, yeah. But it doesn't hurt to be me. It's quieter in my brain. It is so cool to watch newcomers stay and pick up time. I feel like my entire life I was like, what is my purpose? Where am I supposed to be? Where do I fit in? This is where I fit in. This is my purpose. I feel like I found my clan. Yeah. So if you're a newcomer, keep coming back. That's what they told me, and it took a while for me. And I felt that pain that was necessary. I had service positions, and I don't know if this is controversial, but I'm going to say it. I had service commitments. I chaired meetings that didn't keep me sober. Working the steps kept me sober. Service gets me out of myself. I had to let go. I had to clean house, make amends, and find a new God, because the God I was taught was scary. And the God I have today is easygoing. Very easygoing. Mm. I think that's all I have. My sponsor said that, when you're done, you're done. With, with that, I'll take another 24.